I'm Sister Sara Delaney. I grew up in Louisville, about a block from Sacred Heart Academy, and went to Holy Spirit School. First 8 grades, and then Sacred Heart, and then I entered the convent and went to Ursuline College. I have an older sister, 2 younger sisters, and a younger brother. I'm second. Well, my older sister, Judy, just a year older, so it was always so nice because she was at school and I was concerned because I had this little thing every once in a while I just need to swallow, and so I said, "Is that going to be a problem?" She said, "Oh no." all through school, anytime I needed help with anything or had questions, she was always there for me. So, and then my mother and dad and my older sister Judy, and then me, and the 2 years younger, my sister Ann, and then my brother Mike and my sister Lynn, who's 10 years younger. And so when we were little, we always walked to Holy Spirit. If it rained, my dad would drop us off. And so then, let's see, I had the best teachers. Sister Helene for first grade, Sister Gerald for second grade. Let's see, I think it was Sister David and Sister Kieran, Sister Jean, Sister Cyrilla. So it was just wonderful. My dad was a fuel repairman, and so Sister Kieran, she would always tell me if I needed to stop by the convent and if they had any shoes that needed repair, I'd take them home. What was the administration building and now is a model school. That's the building I went to school in. And again, my sister Judy was already there, and Sister Theodolinda was principal my first couple years, and then Sister George Marie. So anyway, I enjoyed high school. I had a neighbor, Mary Ann Kopp Hubbs, who she was Mary Ann Kopp then, and so I'd wait on the corner and she'd come along and we'd walk to school together and walk home together. So that was nice. And let's see, had very good teachers again. Liked math very much. I liked science. And I tell you, it was just, I was very involved in things at school. And I later worked on the yearbook and with Sister Brendan. I can't remember why. I don't know whether she moved or something. But anyway, somebody else was doing yearbook and I was supposed to be helping, but then they couldn't do it, so I got it. Only for 1 year. But we used to have meetings on Saturday. Kids would come, and we did really well. The book got awards, so, but that's because Sister Brendan had everything, all laid out, and I knew exactly what I was supposed to do. So it was a good experience. Well, my sister Judy had always talked about it, and when I was a senior, Sister Pat Lohman, she was Sister Martian, said that out of our class, we had 100 at one time. We graduated with 99, but she said out of our class there should be 5 of us going to the convent, and so I started thinking about it and talked with her several times, and then decided I would be one of those 5. And there were 5 of us. And I think, I don't know if it was 4 or 5 of us that went to Ursuline, and one went someplace else, I think. Went to the convent and then started at Ursuline College. Let's see, I think it was September 9th or something, you were supposed to arrive, and I remember wearing a yellow dress and red shoes, and my mother and I don't know who else in my family took me down there, and I went in and just did, just the next step. And then not long after, we started school. Yes, we were postulants for a year, and then novices. Then the first year novice, we didn't go to classes at the college, but we had scripture and some classes with Mother Charlotte, for different things for religious life. Our novice mistress, she had us for 2 years. She'd have instructions with us. We had these little catechisms. We had to memorize so many things and take a written test on it. And we weren't allowed to talk to each other during the day. We had recreation time, and we, of course, always ate our meals together. For the first year, we were in a separate dining room, and then I think when we were novices, we went to the big dining room. We lived, I think it was on the 2nd or 3rd floor. They had these little very small little spaces. You had one little closet where you could hang your habit. I think we had a second habit, and we had a bowl and a pitcher for water. We're supposed to wash your face in the morning in there, and I guess we had a nightgown. We didn't have much, and there were bathrooms, at the beginning of the hallway. They were big enough for a bed, that little teeny table, and a little, I don't know what it was. I don't even know if it was a closet or a hook. I tell you, it was not easy, but what was so nice, every night we took a walk, and we'd draw numbers or names, who was going to be your walking partner. And my mother and my youngest sister liked to take a walk at night, and they knew what time we walked, and so they would come walking along, and I'd get at the end of the line and walk with them. And my brother was a server at Holy Spirit, so he would serve Mass on Sunday, and my mother would have to bring him. So she'd be there on Sunday for Mass, and my brother would be the server. Not every Sunday, but many. So I had a lot of contact with family. So that's really very nice. And when we had visiting Sunday, the sisters from out of town were supposed to be able to write letters home, but often they had to set up the chairs for our visiting Sunday. So that took part of their time. But we'd have a big circle. Any family members could come. I had aunts and uncles and people like that came. And so anyway, we didn't go to the college. We didn't walk across the yard. we had scripture and I don't remember what else, but we didn't. That was no actual classes. We were still novices, but we did go to college. We walked across the yard and took our classes over there. We were in just regular classes. My major was math. We were mostly teachers at that point. I guess I got an obedience to teach at Sacred Heart was my first place. So again, stayed right there on campus. I was always so glad when, when we were going to college, in the summer, the people who didn't live on campus had to ride a bus for long periods to get there, and bus picked up everybody from all different places and brought them out for classes and then took them back. And so I was on campus and I didn't have to ride that bus. Very grateful for that. That would have been really something. So, and Mary Ann Byrne was a classmate of mine. We went to high school together, and she was a math major, so we had pretty much all our classes together. And then sometimes in the summer, Sister Theodora was our math teacher, and sometimes she would have a self-study course for the two of us. And, she'd meet with us and give us assignments, and we had a little, a place over in the college, a room where we could go and work. So that was nice to have somebody else you knew real well to be in your classes with you, answer questions, get help, and all that kind of thing. At that point, when we entered, we thought we'd never go home. My mother did arrange on what would have been her 25th wedding anniversary. My dad died in an automobile accident right before I was 12. And my youngest sister was just 22 months. And so what would have been her 25th wedding anniversary, she asked if I could come to Mass with her and go home and have breakfast with her. And so they let me do that. That was my first time back home. It wasn't until years later that we could visit. That was nice to be able to do that. And again, I was at Sacred Heart, so I lived close by. And then when my sister Judy had children, she was staying with my mother, and the little ones could walk over and see me at Sacred Heart. That was really nice. We still have a missioning day and get a piece of paper that says where you're going to be. But I guess within I don't know what year, when we could change habits and had a lot of changes, then you could pretty much choose where you were going to go. But then, you'd still get a paper that said that was your mission, your assignment. It was actually that year, that summer, when we had those meetings and everything, I had been going to University of Illinois. I was getting my master's in math, and so I went up there. Sister Virginia Ann, wearing the habit. I came home. It must have been in the summer, and we had those meetings. I had a little time off, and I was one of the first to change completely into lay clothes, and so my mother went with me. We had $100 we could spend for everything, and so she went with me. Went to a lot of consignment stores and all that kind of thing, and so I got, I don't know, probably like 4 outfits or something, and didn't wear habit anymore, changed my name to Sara, back to Sara, and went back up and said, I'm still a sister, but we've made some changes. I've changed my name and changed what I wear. And it was really interesting for everybody to see that happen. I guess it's like, there were, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 women and 10 or 15 men lived in, like dormitories, and had all our classes together. So we were pretty much with our own group of people. So I didn't really interact that much with other groups. But, you know, everybody just accepts it. I would say there were 5 of us who were religious, who were different communities in habits when I first went, and then I changed. Other communities were beginning to make changes too. So, and the fact that those particular people were at University of Illinois, they weren't at some Catholic university. They were all studying math. So it was, I mean, they were, they weren't that far behind us. It was a 12-month program. We had a little time off in the summer, but basically we went the summer before, the regular semesters, and the summer afterwards, and finished everything. Came back and was teaching still at Sacred Heart. I stayed there a long time. I stayed there, I don't remember years anymore, but my friend Mary Ann, who was also a math major, had gotten her doctorate at Purdue and was teaching at University of Georgia. And in those days, a lot of our sisters who were the only person at a college or, you know, going off somewhere by themselves, they were leaving the convent. And so I thought, well, I'm going to see if maybe I can go to Georgia and see if I can get a job there and be with her, and maybe encourage her to, you know, not be leaving and everything. So anyway, it didn't work. I was there for 2 years, and then she told me she was planning to leave. I went to this, I knew I needed to take some classes to get certified for Georgia. So I was taking classes, and I was looking, my friend was looking for different jobs, and so I met somebody in a class I was taking, and she was telling me about, they had middle schools that might need somebody, and so I said, well, you know, I'll see if I can get an appointment and go. So I went to talk to somebody about getting a job at one of the middle schools, and so I go in, and the guy's from Louisville. And so he was really nice. It was just like old home week. And so we have this nice little conversation, and he says to me, well, now the principal of one of the middle schools is just in the other room. Why don't we go meet him? And so I go in there, and this guy hires me to teach at the middle school, and it happened to be the middle school that was closest to where I lived. So I go in there, and it's a special project. They called it ESA, a federal project. I was teaching, I think it was 4th grade, but they were below level. And I had an aide, and I had money, federal money, to use for any things that I wanted to buy. And of course I wouldn't have known, so I have these friends at the university, and so they helped me with all kinds of things that I could purchase and showed me how to use them. And so for 2 years I was teaching in the middle school. So I moved back, and I guess I had been at Sacred Heart, and I don't remember if I moved back there. I can't remember, but at one point I had been sick, and I had an appointment to go to Sacred Heart. At that time, there was a man there as principal, and I had an appointment, and I had fever blisters all over my mouth, and I thought, I can't do that. And so I didn't go for that appointment. And then I saw Sister Louise Marie. And so she was principal at Angela Marissi. And I asked her about whether she needed a math teacher. And she hired me. I went to Angela Marissi then. So that in 75 to 84, when they closed, I was at Angela Marissi. I was teaching math, and part of that time, I had math part-time, and I was part of the administration. And then the last year, Sister Bridget was assistant principal, and she didn't want to be there when they closed. I think she may have been one of the very first people. When I was a postulant, they started Angela Marissi, but they didn't have a convent at that time. And I remember being the one to drive the sisters out to Angela Marissi. And so, anyway, Sister Bridget, I think Sister Paula was principal, and Sister Bridget told Sister Paula she didn't want to be the assistant principal that last year. And so Sister Paula asked me to be assistant principal. But Bridget, again, had such good organization, exactly how everything could be done. And so I could step into that without any real, training for being assistant principal. And so then I went to Holy Cross, and I was there for a year, and I was head of the department, and I really enjoyed the boys in the class, especially the seniors, the boys and girls in the same class. That was my first experience with them together, and they did well. And I did well with the boys as well as the girls. I had a sophomore class with, and seniors and sophomores. The biggest thing was if anybody were dating each other and they broke up. That was major. That was tears. That was, everybody knew, of course, and that's something you didn't experience in the all girls. And so then after that, I decided I would like to go back to Sacred Heart. And again, Sister Louise Marie was principal then at Sacred Heart, and Sister Judith was there. And so I went back and asked them, and they worked it out so I could come back. And then during those years at Sacred Heart, and when I came back that second time, there was a group of teachers from the public schools and one of the professors at U of L who were doing workshops and things like that. And I had been going to some workshops. I had gone to some things at, I went to a summer workshop at Princeton. That was, we were doing a lot of things at that time with graphing calculators. And so I was doing things like that, and got invited to join this other group. And then, so we would do things together during the year, and then in the summer we would offer workshops. So that was really, and then when we would have conventions, they would always invite me to come, and then they knew all these people with the book companies and everything, and they'd take us out to eat, and they'd always include me. And then I went to Ohio State and took a class in the summer on the graphing calculators, and so began to introduce those in high school, and so that was really good. I tell you, professionally, I never had any trouble going from one job to the next. I was always accepted, and just like when in Georgia, when it was like people would see me and talk to me and hire me, and I just never had any. I didn't do the thing of hand in your resume, come for appointments, we'll see you in 2 weeks and see what we think, and all that kind of stuff. I just never did any of that. And in 1992, I had a friend, one of our sisters, Sister Elaine Eckert. She, when we had a school in Pittsburgh, a high school in Pittsburgh that closed, and they had a big building, and she went up there in the summers. Sister Elaine went in the summers and did a needs assessment and went up and started social services using this building. They had a daycare, they had all kinds of programs, social service programs. And so I would go up, in the summer I'd go up and be with her. And we were doing a lot of cleaning out because it had been a high school. And so, you know, the building needed to be cleaned out and all that. So I would help with that in the summers. And then, let's see, I don't remember, it was around that time that we had retreats in Brescia, Italy. Where St. Angela Marissi lived, and that's where her body is. And so we did these 1-month retreats there, and I don't know how it happened. I think they drew names or something, and I got a call and said, you know, you're one that's been chosen to go on this retreat to Brescia, Italy. And we stayed in the you know, the place where it was connected to the church where her body is. And so I was given that privilege to go, and Sister Barbara Burr was one of the other people. So the two of us went a little early. So we went to Rome, and we went to Florence, and we went to Assisi. We did a little traveling before we ended up in Italy at Brescia. Sister Martha Buser was one of the people. There were some sisters from other communities, other Ursuline communities. Martha Buser was the one from our community, and as you know, she studied and knew a lot. And so I was so lucky because Sister Martha would take me on walks. So we walked to the place where Angela grew up, to the little farm where they had this, like a little part of a house where she had a room, and where her father's farm was. And so we walked over and saw that, and she would take me to like the different places in Desenzano, which is right by Lake Garda, and you know, show me all these places. And so like on Saturdays, we always, we weren't on retreat. We could go and visit other places. So Barb and I and Carol Reamer, who went then to work in Peru with our sisters, the three of us and maybe a few other people would decide where we were going to go for the weekend. So we would go to Venice and all around to different places. Oh, it was so wonderful. And on one of the other Saturdays, we went to Lake Garda and got a boat ride all around the lake. And then another Saturday, we went and got, it must have been a bus, and went up through Switzerland, through the mountains and everything in Switzerland. And these were like on Saturdays, you could go out and go someplace. So we tried to take advantage of all that. We had a wonderful time, just incredible. And the retreat, of course, all the things about Angela and seeing all the places. Again, Martha Buser knew her way around Brescia, and she would take us on walks to all the different places where Angela had gone. Oh, it was, I tell you, what she did for our community with Angela has just been wonderful. And I was one of the lucky ones that, you know, and had that experience with her. Anyway, when I came back from that, I went to, that summer, that would have been around, I guess, 1992 maybe. I was teaching at Sacred Heart. I went to visit Elaine, and I wanted to tell her all about my experience and where I'd been and everything. And she just couldn't concentrate. She told me she used to call me, or I'd call her every Saturday morning, and she told me she had gotten lost in Pittsburgh. It wasn't, I can't remember when and how everything happened, but all of a sudden I'm teaching over at Sacred Heart, and someone comes over and they say, you need to leave the classroom right now. We're going home, and you're going to pack and go to Pittsburgh. Elaine is going to have brain surgery. So I got a sabbatical, and I went to Pittsburgh, moved to Pittsburgh, and I took Elaine to all of her doctor appointments. I was there for a year. And on Sundays, we would go to Mass to Mercy Hospital, because that's where Elaine always went. So we get out, we're driving, all of a sudden we get down to this one turn, and I look over and I say, you don't have your wig on. So we had to go back home, get her wig, and come again. And we were a little bit late. Teased us because of why we were late. Anyway, this neighbor had, she had an older girl and then these 3 little children. She had a boy and 2 little girls, and they'd come over to our house. And they were just the most darling children, so well behaved and everything. And Elaine had an arrangement with the man. Elaine had a lawnmower, and he would cut our grass and then use her lawnmower to cut his grass. And so they had all kinds of, you know, trade-offs. And so anyway, then after that year, Elaine came back to Louisville, and she lived at Marion Home. And the doctors had told her that the longest she would live was 5 years, and she lived 5 years. She lived across from one of the sisters, can't remember her name right now, and that sister would kind of keep an eye on her across the hall. And it was very difficult. And I was teaching at Sacred Heart, and after school I'd stay and do a little work, and then I'd go over to see Elaine. And sometimes I don't think I stayed for a meal, but I'd always go to see her afterward. I was living on Burnett. We called it Cilicia Convent. I lived with Colette, Pat, Anna Marie. There's 4 of us. Okay, so I went back to Cilicia Convent, and I thought they told me I could have some time off. Okay, so then I get these calls. We need somebody over at the daycare. We wonder if you could come over there. And I can't think of her name. It's one of our sisters. She was a good friend of Sister Pat's, and anyway, so she talks me into coming over there. Okay, well now this is just wonderful because I go over there and there's this little kid in this daycare. She's in kindergarten, and her name is Sara Delaney. And they say to me, "Are you related to her?" I say, no, I'm not related to her. Well, a couple days later, her dad comes pick her up. It's my cousin, Mike Delaney, her dad. I don't know about her. She is my cousin, and so we connect again. And then she had her best friend over there. Her mom, her dad is somebody I went to grade school with. So anyway, and so we connect again with my cousin, and just the things that happen. It's incredible. So all right, so I work over at the daycare for a while. Well, I thought, I could still do something. So I found out that Holy Rosary needed a teacher, and so I called there, and it was going to be algebra, 2 algebra classes, and calculus. I'd never taught calculus. I'd taught pre-calculus. And so I said, no, I've never taught calculus. So then I'm thinking, well, maybe I could teach it, I could probably learn enough. And so I called her back, and I said, I've never taught calculus before, but there's a teacher at another high school that I knew, and he would help me. And so I went to Holy Rosary from 99 to 2002, and then taught 3 classes, and they closed. Then I went to Mother of Sorrows from 2002 to 2004, and they closed. And then I went to St. Francis of Assisi in 2005, and again, my principal at Mother of Sorrows told me to go see the principal at Francis of Assisi because she was looking for an algebra teacher. So I go there, and again, she hires me right away. And so then I stayed there, and then my mother was not doing well. My sister was a nurse, and she worked nights. She went to work on Saturday night and worked Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or something like that. Anyway, so I would go to my mother's on Saturday night. We'd all go to church, come home. I'd stay with my mother. My sister would go to work. I'd stay until Monday morning, and then I'd go back to school. And my sister would be home because she wasn't working. Okay, so then in 2010, my mother died. Okay, so I went to, when I knew we were going to be quarantined, I went to Scott and Adrian, and I said, I'm needed to help at home with my sister when babies are born. I said, my niece is the midwife, my sister, who would be the one who would stay with her ordinarily, she's the assistant to the midwife. And so when they call, I need to go, night or day. And they said, well, let's think about it. So they said, you're on first floor. You phone call the desk, tell them you're leaving. When you get back, tell them you're back. And so I remember this one time we had a terrible snowstorm. I went out and cleaned off the car because I knew I might get called. And so, several times, middle of the night, I'd get the call, but my sister would always call me and warn me this could happen. I've gotten the first call. The lady has called Juliet, so we may be called. Sometimes Juliet would go and they wouldn't be ready. So it might be another 6 hours, or it might be false alarm. So anyway, many times I would leave, go, and come back. And so anyway, that worked out so well, because I mean everybody else just stayed in their room, but I could leave and I could go out for a walk. Now they couldn't go out for walks because they'd had to come through the building, but I could walk out my door and take a walk. So it just worked so well. Worked, you know, they were so glad to be able to work out something so that I could do that and didn't have to move out. I think God has been so good to me. I told you, I never had any trouble finding a job. I was always so well accepted. I felt like I was doing what I was meant to do. And I think now I also go almost every day to help my sister Lynn, because she is still helping my sister Ann, who has dementia. And she goes and stays with her pretty much all day on Tuesday and Thursday. And she has a little dog. And so that dog needs to get out. It can't stay in the house all day. So I go and I might do some, like fold the laundry, do the vacuuming, empty the dishwasher, straighten the kitchen, take the dog for a walk, just little things around her house. In the summer, last summer, she had a garden, a wonderful garden. Everything did so well. This summer, she had white flies. Tree next to her house, not in her yard, and they killed the tomato plants, the rose bushes, the peppers. She'd look up and buy things. You had to spray the top and the bottom of all the leaves on the plants, but they died anyway. And so she was doing that because it would save her some money, because she would be eating these vegetables that she had grown. And what happened is nothing grew. I feel like, our charism is a contemplative love of God and a resulting openness and eagerness to meet the needs of others. And so I do what I can at Twinbrook and with my family to do whatever I can to help them. And I feel like that's what I'm called to now. And so, like around here, around Twinbrook, there was a man whose granddaughter I had taught, and he'd give me little books and little statues and things, and tell me he had this book about his life and all the things he had done, and wanted me to meet his granddaughter and his family and all this kind of stuff. And he had a birthday when he was here, and he invited all his sisters to his birthday party with his family. And then there were others, like that I would get to know real well. Several of them have died. And like one time I got one of the aides said to me, so-and-so is in her room and she'd like to see you. Or so-and-so is in her room, she'd like you to come pray with her. or so-and-so is in his room, he wants you to stop by. And so sometimes, like with this man, I could go, I knew where his room was, and he was also on the first floor, so was on the other side of the building, so I could walk over there and knock on his door, and he open his door, and I'd be outside and to him inside. And like some of the other people, one of the other ladies who lived further back was having a hard time walking, and she said she knew the room next to me was empty, and she wanted to come and live there. And then she was there, it may have been 3 or 4 weeks. She was getting worse, but she was having a hard time walking. And so then, like we could stop in and see her and things. But the people appreciate that we are sisters, that, they'll ask us, tell us about something that's going on in their family and ask for prayers. And it's just a real good place, And the fact that we can have Mass here every day but Saturday, and the priests who come are so good. I'm one of the readers. I read on Sunday and Wednesday. And Sister Maryland oversees the whole thing, and we have Lisa. And like for special occasions, she decorates and has, palm and all that. Really nice. And I think the other people here, the other Catholics, some people have come because they knew we had Mass. Well, I think the thing that we need to admit, especially with Sister Judith's death and now Sister Anne Mary's illness, we need to realize that we are all grieving. We know we're coming to an end. We are experiencing it now. And we need to be aware, to help each other, to know we're not the only community this is happening to, but we are so lucky to be financially stable and to know that we don't have those kinds of worries, but we do have grieving to do, and we do have a lot of, we don't know how much time. We know we didn't expect the younger people younger than I am, to be the ones who died now. We have one who, I think it's Thursday, will turn 99. So, and we have sisters here in their 90s. I'm 82. I'm not the oldest here. I'm not the youngest here. But we have a lot to be thankful for. And we have a lot to still do in terms of our prayer life, in terms of doing what we can to be helpful to each other and to others. So I am just grateful for my life. I'm glad I've been a sister for over 60 years. And I didn't get to celebrate my Jubilee like some did because we were in the middle of COVID. So I'm sorry that, I couldn't do that, but I understand, and I am grateful now that I can spend time with my family.